All right, are we good to go? Okay. It is 7:01. I'll call to order the May 7th meeting of the Amity City Council. Please rise and join me in saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Tasha, will you take roll for us, please?
Yep. Counselor Melissa Bojorquez. Present. Counselor Michael Blanco.
Present.
Counselor Rachel Blanco.
Present.
Counselor Caleb Shields.
Here.
Counselor Chad Luker.
Here.
Counselor Alice Thompson.
Here.
Mayor Rachel King.
Here. We will start our evening with the consent agenda. We have budgets versus actuals and minutes from the February, March, and April regular city council meetings and the April work session.
Move to approve the consent agenda. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Consent agenda passes. We will move into citizen comments and questions. This is an opportunity to present items not on the regular agenda. Please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. We have the Yamhill County Sheriff's Office report in our packet. I don't see anyone from DIG with an update, so I will open it to citizen comments or questions from the audience. Seeing none, do we have any online?
No one.
Also seeing none. Okay. For old business this evening, we have none, so we will move right into new business. And we are going to start the evening with Recology. Good evening.
Members of council, I'm Dan Blue. I'm the Government and Community Engagement Manager for Recology, Oregon. Nice to see familiar faces again. With me tonight is Nick Olheiser. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Good evening. As Dan said, Nick Olheiser. I'm the new Assistant General Manager for our Recology Western Oregon operations here in the Valley. New to the role since last October, but not new to the company by any means. Been with the company for 17 years. I can say that, 17 years now as of last Saturday. So been at the company for a while and in the industry for the same amount of time. Local to the area, live right outside of Dayton. Grew up outside of Dayton actually to the adjacent property I live on now. I have a family out there now too, so we love it. Love working for Recology. Love the industry. Excited to continue the partnership with our communities, including the city of Amity. So we appreciate you guys having us here tonight. So
Thanks.
Thank you.
And Nick is here for moral support and also to answer any operational questions that I might not be able to answer. Just jump into my slide deck, sorry. Had to connect. Okay, great. Well, thank you. So you have a slide here in front of you. Just what I'm going to do tonight is just provide a high-level reminder of who Recology is, and then I'm going to we'll talk a little bit about our operations here in the Valley, and then go into the rate review process. I believe you have in your packet our cover letter, our annual report, and our proposed rate adjustment for this year, as well as a third-party review. So you should have all of that. Just a little bit about us again. We are a West Coast collection company. We have just under 4,000 employee owners across the company. We serve 137 communities through 26 collection companies. We operate 24 transfer stations, 14 material recovery facilities, and those are the facilities that sort out all the commingled recyclables. And then we also operate 8 composting facilities, turning yard debris and food waste to usable soil amendment compost. So we'll talk a little bit more about our operations here in a minute. I do want to emphasize that we're not a landfill company. It kind of distinguishes us a little bit from some of the other bigger companies. Also the fact that we're employee owned. We are focused on materials management and recovery in our operations, not so much just getting garbage into a hole in the ground, and focusing on safe, reliable and efficient services for communities like yours here in Amity. So I'm going to turn it over to Nick for the next slide. Kind of pop up and down right now.
Thanks, Dan. So I just want to take a minute to highlight our operations that we have here in the Valley. It's kind of a unique operations and what we offer to the community and the residents as well, so it's always nice to talk about that. Obviously, the Valley supports all of the local communities here in Yamhill and some of Polk County, and all the individual cities as well, including the city of Amity. We have our collection operations, which is located in McMinnville over off of Lafayette Avenue. It's out of there that we house all of our trucks, mechanics, all of our office staff as well. Adjacent to that property, we have our McMinnville transfer station, which is over off of Orchard Avenue. It's there that we have a very robust public depot and recycling center where residents of the county and community can come in and recycle plastics, drop off additional trash, cardboard, whatever they might have from there. And then next to our transfer station, we also have our compost facility, which is also located right off of Orchard Avenue. And it's there you can bring in yard debris, wood waste that you might have, and we'll turn that into a beneficial byproduct. And then we have our very broad retail yard with a lot of different products from rock and bark, dust and soil. And we also have delivery services out of there as well. So very unique operation, almost a one-stop shop. If you're in town, you can jump over, pay your bill, hop over to the transfer station, drop off some stuff, and then go pick up some bark dust if you want as well. So it's pretty unique, and we're very proud of it as well. Out of our Valley operations, we have 80 employees. Again, that accounts for our drivers, mechanics, equipment operators, administrative and some management staff, as well as our CSRs. Our customer service team is based out of the McMinnville facility as well. And then of the 80, 30 of which are our drivers that are in and out of these communities on a daily basis, including the city of Amity, servicing residential and commercial customers as well. So that's a little bit about our McMinnville and Valley operations. So. Go for it,
Nick. Okay, next slide, please. So part of what we do is engage with communities. I know we have supported your Amity Cleanup Days. We also support the Yamhill County Fair, the air show at the McMinnville airfield there. We also recently have launched a Earth Day contest at schools throughout the Valley here, where we had kids put together posters celebrating Earth Day, and it was a contest, and we picked winners at each school, and then we picked an overall winner and had those that winning poster printed onto t-shirts, and we've been giving them away at events like at Earth Day and others. Really excited to do that program. It's a good way for us to work with the schools and provide education around recycling. We have partnerships with universities, and we also have, I think Cade has been to a meeting here before, our Waste Zero specialist focusing here just in the Valley to help businesses, schools, I'm sorry, my phone is like, help schools and businesses, everybody's, with their waste reduction and recycling program. So you want me to answer yours and you can answer mine?
It doesn't shut off, it's the fire alarm.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. So yeah, we're trying to be really engaged in the communities and be supportive of efforts. I know you have a group here that's focusing on plastics recycling. We continue to support that initiative as well. So a little bit about that. Next slide, please. So we are here to talk about rates. It's sort of the unpleasant part of the presentation. As you know, there's two different ways rates can be adjusted in our franchise agreement. One of those is through what's considered sort of a cost of living adjustment, a CPI-based rate adjustment. And it's almost like an automatic thing, but still want to come before council and talk about that process. That's if the proposed adjustment is under 4%, that would be a CPI-based cost of living adjustment. And for the most part tonight, we're proposing a 2.1% CPI cost of living adjustment for all of our residential rates and all the rates in the rate sheet, with the exception of commercial rates. And I know we had this conversation last year. Last year, we identified that our commercial rates were quite far from the actual cost of service. And so we had proposed a 2-year catch-up. And this would be year 2 of a more significant rate increase on the commercial front load containers to catch those rates back up with true cost of service. And so that's why you see that 13.38% on commercial. Recognize that's a heavy lift, but after this year, we won't be having to do that. And hopefully next year it'll be, nothing or something along the lines of more of a CPI adjustment. That way the rates have caught up. A little bit about the process for how we do the rate review. Each year at the beginning, my computer is frozen, hold on one sec. Each year by April 1st, we submit to you our financial reports based on what actually happened last year, what's currently happening in the economy, pricing and costs, and then how that looks for this 12-month cycle. We report all of that to you by April 1st. And then within the franchise agreement, there is a range of allowable, it's called the operating ratio. It's allowable profit margin, but it's not all profit of it. Some of it goes to other things as well, with a target of 88% when we set rates. The good news is that we're pretty accurate in our projections. Last year, you'll see that our actual operating ratio was 91.98, so just a little under where we want to be, but pretty close. And our projected operating ratio with that 2.1% on the residential and 13 on the commercial would bring us to 89.96, so bring us right to that target that's established in the franchise agreement. So I think some of the drivers for why we're asking for these rate increases. During COVID, we had ordered new vehicles. The average age of our fleet is 16 years old, which is 6 or so years beyond when we want to have them, and they get more expensive to maintain at this age. We did finally take possession of a few trucks here in the valley this year. Some of them had been on order for 4 years, which is pretty crazy. So that's a good thing long term. It'll save in maintenance costs, and know that we'll have clean trucks driving on the streets here. A few other things, just some labor increases are projected, and then we're doing a little bit of paving at our McMinnville yard just to support our fleet. So those are some of the drivers, just as well as just general inflation. There's a little bit of uncertainty in the economy right now. We feel like this is a reasonable adjustment this year to help keep us higher, kind of in that space around those inflationary pressures. So what that would look like for residential customers, we can go to the next slide, please. Oh, yeah, there we go. So I think the most common customer in Amity is the 90-gallon curbside cart customer. So 2.1% works out to 77 cents a month. And then for the 32, it's 46 cents a month rate increase. And then the next slide. And this is the bigger one, the catch up on the commercial, 13.38%. You can see that is a $29 rate increase per month for commercial businesses. Yeah, and I already said we understand that's kind of a heavy lift, but it gets us trued up in terms of the rate making process. So I think that's all the slides I have. I'm happy, Nick and I are both happy to answer any questions either about our operations or the financial review that we're presenting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a lot of information. Questions from council?
I had a question. I kind of assume a majority of our business customers here use gallon containers rather than the boxes.
Use the roll carts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they gonna see an increase in their gallon prices, or it's just the box?
They'll see the 2.1.
For the cart, yeah, anything that's the cart.
I wasn't sure if it was just if you're a business, you're gonna have this increase.
No.
regardless. Okay.
It's really, I should have specified that. The commercial rate increase, the higher one here that you're seeing on screen, is for the front load containers that tip up into the truck.
And it was acknowledged last year that last year's 13 point whatever increase would get you halfway there. So we were kind of expecting this one. Moving forward, is the goal to have everything move up just at the CPI or at the same rate?
Ideally, it would just be CPI. I think last year we had a little bit of a higher than CPI rate increase, 6.7 if I'm remembering.
Yeah.
The year before that, it was 5%. Assuming the economy sort of stays in a positive direction. It's hard to say, but hopefully we come in with CPI next year as well, understanding that, this is a bigger hit, especially on the commercial front load. We don't have to come back and fix for front load. Doesn't mean there's not going to be a future rate adjustment, but it won't be sort of correcting like we've done the last 2 years.
But you do hope to get it so that all are increasing at the
By the
same
same
rate?
rate, yes. Yeah, sorry.
Other questions from council? I don't know if this is an appropriate time, because I missed the work session where we talked about the cleanup and the steps ahead for incorporating that into an agreement. This obviously doesn't show any of that. So based on if something were to change with how Amity does our cleanup days, would that be an amendment to these rates where we'd come back with a new set in addition to amending of the franchise agreement?
I think there's a couple of ways to do that. We could, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, but we could potentially just accrue those costs and then we would see it in next year's rate model. Or we could come and have an amendment with you and make a decision to distribute those across the rates. Honestly, I think I forgot to close the loop with you on that particular thing. So we could come back and adjust again. Or Nick, is that true? Like we could potentially incur those costs this year and then put them into the allowable costs as a service that we provided to the city and build it into the rates next year. We're flexible however you would prefer to do that.
So just we have options for a way ahead, because I know
Yes.
council discussed that. There might have been consensus, but really we probably need to regroup and then just get in touch
Yeah,
with
and this
a
was the
plan.
idea, to take the costs of the cleanup, all those dumpsters that we provide, and distribute those across the rates rather than have the city pay for it directly. That's what I'm hearing?
That was one of the options.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
council hadn't fully decided which way they wanted to go with
Okay.
it, but
I was-
evaluating that option.
Yeah,
They had the question of, would it change rates midway through the year? Would it
Yeah.
result in just an increase in the following year? Or what would that?
We would anticipate adjusting these rates
Yeah.
July 1st.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of time, but if you don't want to take action on it, in addition to what you're seeing on screen already,
Yeah.
then we could either do a mid-cycle. We don't have a problem with doing a mid-cycle rate adjustment. It's just syncing it to our billing cycles. But I'm happy to come back and have that conversation, or
Okay.
potentially we could, I don't want to check with my boss, but
Yeah.
potentially we could incur those costs and then it would get built in as allowable costs in next year's reporting. So I would have to
Okay.
check with you and get back to Nathan on that.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I think council is in a position where we want a little bit more discussion and a little bit more information. I just want to make sure that that doesn't,
We're flexible, so we're
make
not going
problems for
anywhere.
this. So, yeah. Great. And then this is just another one of those what if questions. So last year you projected that you would hit that ratio around 89%.
Correct.
And you hit it closer to 92. So what happens when you hit 96%? I mean, you're not going to pay us back. So
Yeah, it actually works the other way. 96 is a really low earning for us. We want to
Okay, I
be,
see.
we want to be at 90 or a little higher if we're doing well. But when setting rates, you set to 90. I've been in the industry for a long time, and we always use margin, which was reflected as like 10% margin. 90 is the reverse of that. So a 92% operating
Is
ratio is actually 8%
8%,
margin, which
okay.
is less good for us.
Okay.
So we were just under where we would like to be. And I think we're projecting to be just under a little bit this year too. But long as we're, close to it, it works out for us.
So even if you fell below, like the opposite happened and you fell below that 85, it's just you have to try better next year.
If we were projected to be outside of the operating range, you wouldn't see a rate increase if it was on the positive side. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If we would be making too much money at that point.
All right. Anything else from council? Okay. Well,
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Thanks
you
for
need
being
to
here.
vote on this because it's the way the franchise is kind of written, it's sort of an automatic cost of living adjustment. But if you, some jurisdictions that I've worked with want to have a motion and vote on it. Some just kind of give me, thank you very much,
Yeah.
have a good evening, and then we put the rates effective July 1. I think I leave that up to your city manager here to direct us on that.
Say, I'm trying to remember the exact wording of the agreement, but the commercial increase might be outside of that.
It is, so you might
Yeah.
want to do a
Might
motion
as well
on it.
motion
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
right? So-
And we're prepared to do it that way, and if it's redundant and unnecessary, that's okay. We'll have it done for the record.
Okay, great. Thank you very much
Yeah.
for your time.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion, council discussion on this item? Okay. Then I will ask for a motion.
I move to approve Recology's proposed rate schedule.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve Recology's proposed rate schedule. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Our next item of new business is an OLCC liquor license. Does staff have anything to add or? Okay. Any questions from council?
Yes. I did not see the part about the OLCC license, so I must have just missed it going through some of this material, or I wasn't here.
It's in the packet.
So I must have
Yeah.
just missed it because there's what was that license?
So anytime a business applies for a liquor license, it comes before the council for our recommendation. And so it just has where it is, their hours of operation, that kind of thing. And even if we were to vote neutral on it, we are not the authoritative body on whether the license is issued. It's just kind of a matter of,
Letting us know.
yeah, and making sure for the record that it's, we know it's happening within our city jurisdiction.
I'll catch up with it later, then I don't necessarily have any objections.
Okay,
I'd say it's also so that in case anybody in council is familiar with the applicant and is aware of specific circumstances that would encourage us to vote no or
yeah, and it
Go against
also
it, right.
gives a opportunity for public comment. So because it's posted publicly, this is the opportunity that anyone in town could come and say, well, did you know this? Or I'm concerned about this.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion for this agenda item?
I move to approve liquor license application for Original Wines LLC at 203 Fifth Street.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve a liquor license application for Original Wines LLC at 203 Fifth Street. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. Our last item of new business is to abandon Waterline easement release. Nathan, can you give us the rundown on this?
Yes, so this is the recent ARPA Waterline project put a new water line up to the reservoir from Rice Lane and essentially replaced but abandoned the existing water line that was there. That old water line had an easement across those three properties. The new water line is in a different alignment. And so we purchased or we pursued and purchased new easements for that water line. As part of the agreement with those property owners, they requested that we abandon that previous water line's easement. It's an old water line, we don't need it anymore, and there's no reason for us to kind of maintain those rights. And so this is simply a release and quitclaim of easement for each affected property. It, details the boundaries of the easement itself, and then releases the city's rights to those easements. This includes a section on the Munson's property, which is the one closest to the reservoir, Lindell's property, which is the one, he essentially has a driveway, and our new water line goes up his driveway, right there at the base of that hill. I don't know if it has a name, but the hill at the end of Rice Lane. And then it also includes a section that crosses the property that was just annexed or approved for annexation into the city of Amity's city limits. There was their deed and map described a water line easement. I'm not sure the existing water line even went under their property at all, but the easement was there. And so we're just to kind of release all rights to that old previous easement, we've included that section as well.
Any questions? So this releases us from any rights to the real property. Is the actual water line still in the ground? And does it release us from any liability associated with that?
I believe the answer is yes and yes.
Okay.
The actual water line is still in the ground. It's been abandoned, which means I'm not sure if they, filled it and capped it or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what they did with it. But I know it's certainly not connected to any of our system anymore. And as far as I know, it releases our responsibility for both maintaining the infrastructure and any other piece of it.
Okay. So the property owners are aware, like, here's your land back, but we're giving it to you with our non-functioning water line. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Any discussion, questions, comments, concerns?
Is there any downside whatsoever in abandoning it?
Not that I'm aware of. We have new updated easements. We have a functioning water line elsewhere. It wouldn't be used again. And keeping it just, there's no need that I know of.
I'd say if it was in a more useful location, then there could be argument that, oh, maybe we want to use it for different infrastructure or future water line or something else. But the route that it takes up the hill from Rice Lane to the reservoir is not one that we would ever want to build. It's like under people's houses, and it's the route we picked for our new water line is really the only good route up the hill, at least without going up the road. And so if we ever did a future water line, we would probably go over and go up Amity Road. But in this case, it's not one that myself or the engineers ever saw a use for.
And it was deficient for our needs, and it was not up to date. So really, my personal thought is we're better off without it, and let them have their property rights back since we no longer need it.
My only concern is I want to make sure, doubly sure, that we're not liable, because there is potential for that abandoned water line to cause property damage. And I just want to make sure the city's not going to be liable for that in the future. Just maybe double check and cross those I's and dot those T's, or
That's a really
Yeah.
good question.
Yeah.
So-
I will ask that of the city attorney.
Irrespective of this, because this releases all the rights for the real property, but as far as what we're leaving behind, just
Right.
make sure
yeah.
it's no longer considered ours because we don't have any claim on the property. Good
Yeah.
call. Would anyone like to take action on this item?
I move to approve the release and quitclaim of easement for each of the referenced properties.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the release and quitclaim of easements for each of the referenced properties. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying no. Motion passes. We will move into department reports. We did not have one from our city administrator in the packet, so I'm gonna hand it over to Nathan to give us his update.
Thank you. I apologize for not having one in the packet. I was out of town last week. And so in my flurry to get ready and get out of Dodge, I forgot to include a report kind of updating on what's been going on. I do have a few updates though. Most of our time recently has been preparing for the upcoming budget committee meetings, so you'll hear a lot more from me then. But just a couple of quick highlights. We have a Safe Routes to School plan that last year, midsummer last year, we got a grant from ODOT to have a planning consultant help the city put together a Safe Routes to School plan. That basically just highlights where the major routes for walkers or bikers going to and from school would take, and kind of what infrastructure, what education, and anything else that the school and city should be prioritizing in supporting that. That draft is just about ready to go. I'm going to be sending it out. I had intended to do a Facebook post for the community this afternoon. The afternoon got away from me, but tomorrow I will be putting it on the city Facebook, and then I will also be sending all of council a link specifically to that. Basically, it's an interactive PDF. You can click onto that and then provide any comments. Review the draft report, and then provide any comments if you see anything that, we really need to prioritize this sidewalk corner here, or that any other comments that you'd like to add or that you think would be important. Maybe errors you catch in the draft, all of the above, right? So I will be sending that out, so please keep an eye out for that. We'll have that kind of go through this public comment and council comment review period, and that's open for the next week and a half. And then after that closes, we'll finalize the document and we'll bring it back for council approval here in probably a couple of months. So be on the lookout for that. Exciting to report, Goucher Street, half of Goucher Street was paved today. I think half of you are acutely aware, but for anybody who wasn't aware, there's brand new fresh pavement on half of Goucher Street. The other half will be added tomorrow. So we're excited about that. They were able to fix some kind of issue spots right there where Goucher connects to Nursery, so that's also quite pleasing. But overall, really happy. Our engineer was really pleased with their work. So excited to have that just about wrapped up. And this morning we had a Habitat for Humanity event. I don't know if anybody saw the tent out here on the Cuelos property, or saw the massive volunteers walking around near Jellison and Rosedale. But the McMinnville Habitat for Humanity group had come out and found a couple of low-income homes that might qualify and that needed some assistance with yard work and just kind of fixing a few things up. And I was out there this morning. We did a great job. It had a ton of people helping, and it was exciting to see that move really quick and kind of build that volunteer enthusiasm. They're definitely open to future events as well. We're hoping to kind of continue that, keep it going. So if anybody reaches out or asks you hey, how did that happen? Can I get on that? Please send them our way, and we'll keep a list to reach out to in the future. I believe it was last council meeting, we talked about the clean water planning loan from DEQ. It's the planning loan for $300,000 to go towards wastewater facility studies. There was some questions about the date on that loan, the estimated completion date of October 2025. I reached out to DEQ and the Clean Water State Revolving Funds Administrator, and they were happy to change it to October 2026. However, that meant getting a new agreement and had to go through the right channels. So I don't have the new agreement in front of us yet, but hopefully next month we will have a new agreement in place or in front of us available for signature. But they said, yeah, we're happy to change it to October 2026, and we understand that it's a flexible thing. Next is, we also talked about setting up tours to kind of look at potential city or community facilities. This one is a bit of a question. I set up tours for the middle school and the church on 6th Street. The middle school will be at 5:30 p.m. on May 21st, and then the church will be at 6:10 on May 31st. I gave us 40 minutes, I thought that.
21st?
Yeah, May 21st. There's a couple of different ways we could do that as a council. One is to notice both of those times and locations and kind of keep it as an open public meeting. And just know that, we wait outside the middle school until 5:30 on the dot, in case anybody shows up and wants to join us. Same thing at the church. Or we can notice and cancel the work session and essentially make it a closed tour for the city council, if you will. And we'll just notice that, we won't be discussing towards any decisions. We'll just touring a couple of community facilities and then bringing all the thoughts and ideas back to a future meeting. So I don't know if there's thoughts on which way people would prefer to see it.
If we did it as a public meeting, would we need to have a way to record our pocket talk?
Mm-hmm. And minutes.
That's a good question.
Because if that's the case, then let's not do that.
But we also have to have proper time to notify for a quorum and for, is there anything else that we would need to discuss in May?
On our work session, I don't think so. I don't know that
We left it open in case we needed a budget.
Yeah, that was the bigger question.
So if we have a second budget meeting, is that already,
That's noticed in the paper.
for the 21st at 6:30? My thought or preference or easiest, I personally wouldn't mind anyone to join us, but just for ease of doing it correctly and noticing it correctly, if we had it as a closed tour, we could just publicly cancel the work session. And then 72 hours notice, you just say potential quorum of counselors, no business will be discussed towards a decision. And then that's noticing we will be together, there will be a quorum of us, but we're not conducting business.
And then could we push that budget meeting to 7 in the event that we need it?
Probably not. I mean, you can start them late, but we wouldn't notice it as a later time. We would just have to have someone here at 6:30 saying that the budget committee and council will be here as soon as possible to start the meeting.
I think the latter suggestion is better.
MoMA walking tour. What time was the first? Was it 5 or 5:30?
5:30.
5:30.
So is there consensus then that we will cancel the work session scheduled for May? And do facility tours in lieu of that? With a potential second budget meeting at 6:30 if necessary. Okay. Sounds good. Anything else for an administrator?
I do
Okay.
have
Yeah, keep
two more
going.
quick things, if that's okay.
Yeah.
One thing, just to make the council aware, we, like 2 weeks ago, April 24th, 25th, we had a sewer backup at 810 Oak Avenue. It's the little duplexes right there on Oak and Church. I don't know if it's due to building error or, sunken over time, but unfortunately, their clean out, their house kind of sits down in a little hole. And so their clean out is lower than the nearest manhole. And so we had our main line back up or get plugged and back up into the sewer pipes. And instead of coming out of the manhole where it would be visible and Public Works could see it and address it before it affected a resident, it ended up in their backyard. They let us know pretty quick and we were able to unplug that and, get it out. It happened to be like a 4-inch pipe elbow that had gotten somehow flowed down the sewer line and gotten wedged in there sideways. And but they were able to pull it out and open that up. But it did, cause some sewer overflow in their backyard. They just planted the garden, some of those. And so that was one, because there's been repeated issues with that property specifically. In the past, we've had major rainstorms. Had a similar thing happen, right? Because their property is lower than the next manhole or the next kind of sewer overflow spot. That's one that they've requested a little bit of city help on, and we just want to let you guys know that we sent that to insurance just to kind of help work through the process and documentation of, is the city responsible? If so, for what? What makes sense to help them out? What makes sense to ask of the property owner long term? And we just wanted that documentation and investigation to be very clear, and so CIS is really good at helping us with that piece. So just wanted to let you know that happened, and that's how we're addressing it moving forward.
Is that something that needs to be or could be addressed from our infrastructure side, or is it just like a topography, their house is lower?
It is an unfortunate topography. They do make like sewer backflow valves essentially that would prevent sewage from flowing up their lateral. The question becomes, is that the city's responsibility to install, or is it the property owner's?
Because it would be on
install?
their sewer
It would be
lateral,
on their lateral. So.
which in Amity you own all the way to the main line.
You do. So that's part of the reason we're going through CIS and having them help sort out exactly what we should be helping with or not. And so there may be some frustrations in the future, depending on how that investigation resolves.
Will you keep us updated, please?
I will, yep, I will. The other one, the final thing that I just wanted to note, so the city put in 3 legislative requests, essentially requests to the legislature for funding for capital projects. That includes some funding to help further the Waterline replacement over here on 5th and Stanley. Essentially, we hoped to expand that project just a little bit and do all the railroad crossings at 4th, 5th, and 6th at the same time. Each one of those crossings is probably $200,000 to $250,000 just for the jack and bore and railroad permitting and everything that goes into that. And so we're hoping to get a little bit of extra funding from the legislature to help us do all three at the same time, save on some permitting hassle. So that's one. The other request that we put in is for a little bit of funding to help pay for the RFB signal down here by nursery and trade. That I think if I can convince ODOT, I'm still working on convincing ODOT, but when they come through to do ADA curb ramps, it'll be a good opportunity to install something like this at the same time. They're already doing a lighting study. They're already having a lot of these discussions around what the design of some of these crossings should look like. And I think this would be a good time, especially if the city could chip in a little money, whether it's through the city's own money or hopefully a legislative request, to purchase the equipment itself. So that's the second one. And then the third and final one is a little bit of funding to help on the wastewater side to help start developing and implementing a SCADA system that's just going to really start tracking more of our flow information, flow and treatment information. Our wastewater treatment plant just has an old system, right? It's from 2000 and it's worked for the most part, but as we gear up for new improvements, it would be really, really helpful to have strong data backing up what we've been doing, backing up what we need. And so that's kind of going to be the third request. The Joint Ways and Means Committee is meeting to have a public hearing on those requests this Friday, and I have signed up to testify. There is an opportunity to submit written testimony. If anybody's interested, I'm happy to send you the link to that and a little bit description of our projects, and you can submit written testimony and help support the argument for Amity's need of this funding. So that is my final thing. Thank
I
you.
would like that later.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions on your recap. Are we able to put on our social media the completion of the Habitat for Humanity event to kind of also encourage more volunteerism and, just put it out there to, if anyone would like to continue events like this, please reach out and we can add you to a list.
We are. I would say we talked with Habitat for Humanity this morning. Jennifer, their volunteer outreach coordinator, is great working with the city and helping us find kind of the projects to do to begin with. And we talked with her about like putting together a little blurb about, hey, this is the great work we did, right? And here's how to be involved in the future. Helps them get volunteers, helps us, find additional projects as well. So I think it's.
So they're doing like the PR marketing, they have pictures and stuff. Once we get that from them, then we can push it from our side.
And then I know written testimony can be really helpful in getting funding. Would it be appropriate to have a script letter that we can post out there that citizens can sign and send? Something easy, or to help petition for Amity to receive more funds? I've seen that happen a lot
Yeah.
with like associations or HOAs or groups that are championing for or against things in legislative. I know it's a quick turnaround being Friday, but
You have 7 days past, I believe it's 7 days past the date of the hearing to submit written
Well, and
testimony.
I believe there's likely to be future opportunities as well. Maybe not, I'm not sure. This is my first big legislative session. But
The Joint Ways and Means is the best time to get it because they are the part of the Senate that holds the purse.
So you're saying you put out a form letter that people could.
Yeah, fill in their name and any additional details, and then you just, through OLIS online, you just submit it. So if it was something that could be copy and pasted with their contact information, it has to be real people from
Right.
real,
And that would be neutral, so depending on whatever their opinions are.
yeah. That's something we could look at doing, and I definitely think, coming from council members also, we all have the opportunity to do that. I'm not available to, be in Salem on Friday, so I was gonna do written testimony. But it could be very, very simple. And if we had one form letter for each thing, people could pick and choose which one they wanted to support also. Nathan and I could probably work together.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that could be cool. Any other questions for me? I know it's like it's been forever, but I was out of town out of the state, so.
I don't think so. Okay, we had our city recorder report. Tasha, did you have anything to add? Okay, Public Works, we got our library report today. Any questions on any of those reports, or engineer, attorney, planner? Any of the above? Okay, we will move on to business from the mayor and city councilors, and we'll start with Council President Bojorquez.
We completed another city cleanup day, and that was widely attended and successful. We had a lot of great volunteers from the high school that were really helpful. So thank you, Councilor Thompson, for organizing that.
Good.
And we also, the same day, had our shred day. That this year was surprisingly a lot less participation in, but that's good. That means people have less paperwork that is building up in their homes. So.
And it was still thousands of pounds of paperwork.
Was
even,
it?
Yeah.
It ended up being.
It was on whatever I had to sign. I don't remember exactly, but I was like, really? 3,000 pounds? You know? So, yeah.
Thank you for all the volunteers and all the participation we had.
Anything else?
Nothing you want to add?
Okay. Any questions for Councilor Bojorquez? All right, Councilor Shields, do you have anything for the good of the order?
I have nothing to add.
Councilor Thompson? Councilor Rachel Blanco? Councilor Luker?
I have nothing to add.
And Councilor Michael Blanco?
Nothing at this time.
Okay, mayor's report and final comments. I'm gonna repeat some of what Nathan just went over. So the Habitat Block Blitz was very successful, I would say, today. I was there for the first half of the day, and it was really transformative for some very deserving homeowners. You know, you see those shows with the before and after, and just the amount of transformation that can happen. There is, 12 to 15 volunteers, 2 debris dump trailers, and an excavator, and within 4 hours, it was like night and day. So I really appreciated that there were so many people willing to help. I would like to see that continue, and we will get the word out. I know they want to extend throughout Yamhill County, but we made a positive impression, I feel like, with Habitat, and they were a great partner. So I want to keep working with and inviting those resources in. Yeah. Another thing, so our downtown improvement group is part of the Main Street organization. It's a national organization. Amity is just at the affiliate level, and so once a year, their board sends a report, and they have resources and opportunities that are available to that. There's been discussion countywide to start a regional Main Street hub. And it really just takes those resources, a lot of times it will be city's Chamber of Commerce or those kind of organizations. We have DIG, the Downtown Improvement Group. that run this, but if you can get them together to just be more of a hive mind for like the regional stuff, it can really help. So there's these ongoing discussions about having a regional hub and working as separate organizations to have like a facilitator that would help with like revitalization grants or getting initiatives started. So I just wanted to let council know, on behalf of the city of Amity, I've been attending those meetings with our downtown improvement group, just because I think that it's really imperative that we have more of these like cooperative efforts. And so the more partnerships we have and the more we can be connected to communities, it makes our efforts expand. If everyone else is working on something and we can be part of it, I don't want to let that opportunity pass. So if there's any major updates, I will let you all know, but the Council of Governments really wants to be that, or has offered to be the organization that really helps like facilitate the regional meetings. And so the next step is just we're gonna meet as all the YC entities to talk about what that might look like to have a regional hub that we could all use as a resource. I also have the Safe Routes to School draft plan that's out, so that's going to be open the 5th through the 16th. We had great partnership from the Amity Parents and Teachers Together group and the school districts, so they will be sending that out to all students through their platforms. But I would really like to get council involvement and community involvement so that when we have this couple hundred page plan that comes before us of this is aspirationally what we should do, that people don't feel like it's something that was given to us by a consultant, and it's really what our city actually needs or what we'll use, what you would like to see in our community. Alta Consulting has done a great job, and there's been numerous meetings about this with all the stakeholders, but I just think the more community input we can get, the more it's ours and not just a stranger doing a walkthrough and saying, oh, you could do all these things, because that's what makes a difference. Tomorrow, Nathan and I will be attending the LOC Small Cities Presidential Meeting in Independence. That's just where the small cities in the region meet up. They hear what's going on from the League of Oregon Cities, and we give updates on that. That will be followed up by a regional water meeting. Nathan, would you mind giving like a 30-second rundown of what the regional water discussion has been?
Yeah, I think I may have briefly mentioned this before, or in an email, one of those. So there's a Yamhill County Regional Water Authority. It was originally formed back in, I want to say like 2008, kind of that era, 2008, 2009, with the idea that we form kind of a regional coalition of water, water resources and water infrastructure. I think the idea there is that there are cities in our county that are, some of which are really struggling with water. I know recently, right, Dayton and Lafayette, they share a well field, and that's been having real production issues. There's just concerns over how most cities in Yamhill County are kind of on a single source, and when those single sources dry up or have issues, start having cities out of water. And so we've been looking as a region for ways to kind of connect some of those and provide alternative sources. McMinnville connected to Lafayette via a water transmission line. This regional discussion is meant to just kind of take that a step further and look into the future, say, okay, what would we want this to look like? There's even been some questions recently about, okay, what should the governance of that regional authority look like? Would it ever want to be one water utility across the county? Do we want everybody to maintain their own water utilities and then just have the regional water authority govern like how we share? there's been some of those questions, and it's been exciting just to see all the cities come together and talk about, okay, this is what Yamhill needs, this is what Carlton needs, this is what Sheridan, Wilmina need, but these are also what we have, right? Some people have water rights, some people have, Sheridan has a reservoir up in the mountains that they haven't yet accessed, right? So there are resources out there, and it's trying to figure out how to make those accessible to everybody that could use them in the best way possible. So reopening that conversation back from 2008, 2010, and trying to kind of take it a step further. The Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments, the COG, has been facilitating that discussion and really kind of started to help push that forward. They recently pursued grant funding to help develop kind of essentially a concept plan, right, of what the infrastructure would look like, where the water lines might go, what kind of sizing you would need, some of those questions, right, of how would it actually work, how would it actually flow, and then also to explore that governance piece that I had mentioned.
Thank you. So I'm excited to be part of that discussion tomorrow, and I'll say I'm also following the same subject at the state level. There's a water caucus that's very involved with how the state moves forward, but it's just everyone is well aware that water needs are changing. Just as municipalities grow and evolve, like we all need to be aware that everyone thinks Oregon has so much water and will never run out, but that's not the case when you get, varying needs and varying resources. And so just that regionality of what do we have at a bigger level and how can we access that and make sure that everyone's needs are met and rights are upheld and all that. So, yeah, so that's what's going on there, and we'll keep you apprised of any major changes or anything that's going on. Update, Downtown Improvement Group also got the flower baskets together this last week, and they got hung today along with the senior banners. So if you notice, we have flower baskets out there and the senior banners. And then the last thing I had was just for written testimony, and if anyone wants to take it down, I think Nathan's gonna send out the links, but it is Senate Bill 5531 and House Bill 5006. The House bill is essentially that Christmas tree bill that at the end of the session, they write.
What was that first number again?
Senate Bill 5531. And that has to do with the lottery bond proceeds and the different ways that those are used. The House bill is essentially where they wrap everything up and see what they can get into it. So we would like to be in it if there's going to be allocation of funds. I always think that it's important that we advocate that all of our citizenry is paying taxes, and so if it's coming back to places, we need to advocate for it to coming back for our needs. And that is all I have for this evening. I think. Any questions? Any final comments? Okay. Motion to adjourn. I have a motion and a second to adjourn at 8:05. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, meeting is closed at 8:05. Thank you all.